baba ingonyama ngonyama nathi ngonyama bakithi babo.
And Ubuntu is the collective, collaborating, making choices that impact the whole, the community versus the self. And I think if people had the philosophy of Ubuntu in their minds and they really had their life rooted in the philosophy and the teaching of Ubuntu, we would really come together as a human race and try to have peaceful terms and live in coexistence and live in harmony with one another in the natural world.
So we are at the National Stadium. Sir, please can you tell us a little about this?
About this stadium?
Yes.
This stadium actually, before 2010, it was accommodating about 60,000 spectators. And after that, because of the World Cup, they renovate the whole stadium and make it bigger. So this is the biggest stadium in Africa, which accommodates 193,000 people.
So what's the name?
FNB
like
Stadium.
What does FNB stand for?
First National Bank Stadium. It belongs to the bank, anyhow. Right.
So,
and 2010 is when the finals goes over here.
So Spain and
Netherlands.
And Netherlands.
They play here.
This is our professional cameraman.
Yep.
Second shooter.
All me.
All you?
Yeah, primary. Yeah, primary. Yeah.
This guy is so proud.
Yeah, I'm very proud.
Ladies,
break it up.
Today is day 3 and we've just visited the Apartheid Museum. We wouldn't have seen much of it because there are restrictions for video cameras inside, photography, but it is basically a unique museum in that even though many parts of South Africa have different parts of the struggle that they tell, this is a complete experience. So you go from how it started, apartheid decisions, or the oppression of non-white people, into the very end and beyond.
in such a special place. Allah is going to take very good care of us. We already spoke about what we spoke about. This is a special time. Please take it in.
I learned that apartheid was a really huge problem in South Africa, and that Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu and a bunch of other huge figures helped solve this.
People of color in South Africa were really mistreated.
The section over here, it's called the race classification. As you can see above us here, there's like two sides, one for whites, one for non-whites. That's because of one of the apartheid laws that I've mentioned, the Reservation of Separate Entities Act. So everywhere you go, during the apartheid time, public spaces, facilities were segregated. But then this dual entrance here in front of you, it forces you guys to experience a accumulating aspect of race classification. Entering in here, identity documents for white, and then entering in here, passbooks or passports for non-whites. That's because of, again, one of the apartheid laws known as the Population Registration Act. So black South Africans inside South Africa were classified as foreigners. That's why they forced them to carry a passbooks everywhere they go. So guys, according to your tickets, you can enter.
It was very heavy to take in, but it was also interesting because I never heard of that part of South Africa before.
Like Arya said, it was quite heavy and a little sad to take in, but I think it definitely contributed to South Africa becoming a beautiful country now. And I think Nelson Mandela definitely did justice to this country.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was from a long time ago, but I realized that segregation and racism still existed until recently in the 1980s.
Okay, now, one at a time, step on the circle. The sidewalk, we're going to take turns on the viewpoint. Renee, tie your shoes.
A cosmopolitan country, there's a variety of cultural mix. Go through the cones, pick sticks, put them in the grid. I'm Tabang Lubeko. I'm a site guide here in the Apartheid Museum, and the Apartheid Museum is a heritage site that commemorates dark times of South Africa, explains all atrocities happened during dark times of South Africa. And then in the museum here, we have other exhibitions like the Nelson Mandela exhibition. It's a wonderful exhibition, and we also have the Desmond Tutu exhibition, and we also have a new exhibition. It's called Born Free, a generation of hope. Everything that is happening now in the post-apartheid. Then we have also the main exhibition that starts from segregation, which is the foundation of apartheid, and leading you to the rise of apartheid. Events happened during apartheid time and the fall of apartheid. And now in the post-apartheid, you also have a commission. It's called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that promotes peace and reconciliation among the perpetrators and the victims. So it happened in 1996. The importance of coming to the museum is to learn about the past, so we can change the future. Please come to visit our museum. It's a wonderful, well-curated museum, and then it explains everything about dark times of South Africa. And it's actually a #1 tourist destination. The end of our tour, and guys, thank you very much for coming to visit our museum. And I hope with the little time that you spend in the museum, you've learned something about dark times of South Africa, and of course, atrocities happened during dark times of South Africa. And most of all, guys, enjoy the rest of your stay in South Africa, and I wish you all the best with your studies, guys. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Tommy. How was your experience at the Apartheid Museum today?
I think it was a very emotional experience. There's definitely a lot that's gone into the history of this country and them getting to where they are today, and seeing the years of pain, trauma, suffering, and fights that went into it. It's kind of, it's sad, and at the same time it's also encouraging, because it means that, like, if you want something, you have to go for it, and it might not come easy, but you still have to fight for it.
I think the students were surprised by what they learned. I think before this trip they didn't know much about South Africa, South African history, or what apartheid even meant. And I think maybe they were confronted in some ways, but overall I think they learned a lot, and they had a lot of empathy for those that were a part of the apartheid, and also a lot of admiration for those that fought against apartheid.
Apartheid was overthrown in like 1980 something, which was not too long ago. It was like barely 30 years ago. And when you think about it, you might think about it like ancient history, like something happened like 100 years ago or something.
The biggest takeaway is how powerful videography is, honestly. I think with this age and this generation, social media makes it so easy to just look at quick images but then move on and be desensitized. And I think young people today are not inclined to read a body of text on a wall and understand the heaviness of what that text is trying to convey, but through imagery, through videos, through photos, the message is much, much, much more profound and powerful. And the level of storytelling that imagery and videography and photography is able to have, and the impact it's able to have, is significant. So I admire videographers and photographers and the work that they do. I think it's very important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The former President Nelson Mandela came with the idea that this is not a good place for the people, and he closed it down. After closing it down, he turned it into museum so that you can come here and learn what was happening to all those prisoners in here.
Watch your head.
So most of the prisoners that were held here were political activists. So Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Robert Sobukwe, Winnie Mandela in the women's prison. So many prominent and non-prominent political activists have been incarcerated here. And then you also got criminals and protesters in Soweto. 1976, the students went protesting in Soweto against Afrikaans language being the medium language of teaching. They were also imprisoned here. And then you were criminalized by the government due to the color of your skin. For example, if you're a black citizen, you had to carry a passbook that had extensive information about you as an individual. So if you did not carry this passbook with you, you would have been imprisoned here. So this passbook would allow you to go into the city and so on, right? The prison section had about 2,000 prisoners. It was completely overcrowded. 2,000 in the side of the what I'm going to show you here. And then each cell had about 60 beds.
60 in here?
Yes, about 60
How would they all
prisoners.
fit to sleep?
Yeah, they would. Some of them would not have much of space actually. So over here we've got the prisoners that were held here for their different offenses. So you get to see their pictures, their testimonies on the sides. And let me just point out a couple of prisoners. Are you familiar with the face over here? Yes, so Mahatma Gandhi came from India to South Africa to practice law, but seeing how it was in the system, like the discrimination that was happening in South Africa, he then began his political activism. So he was advocating for civil rights for the Indians in South Africa, having passive resistant movements against past laws for Indians. Then he went back to India in 1914, so he was imprisoned here the year 1908. What you get to eat, but it was according to race. The months became worse over the years. There were disease outbreaks in this prison, especially typhoid. Hospital facilities weren't enough, and the death rate was very high. For this number 4 prison, the shower was just down here. It would have been open and exposed. There was just closure at the top, but it was open on the sides. 30 minutes only were granted for the prisoners to be able to shower. So 30 minutes as a collective, cold water throughout. So what we have here would be used for punishment. This was a flogging frame.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So prisoners were told to step on there, tied on it, and then receive their lashes on backs and on their buttocks. Yeah. So this prison was a gruesome one. It was a brutal one. Especially if you're a political activist in South Africa, making you want to stop advocating for civil rights. So what would be used is what we have inside this metal cabinet. So if you looked inside the metal cabinet, isolation cells, solitary confinement, 1 prisoner in each, locked up 23 hours inside and about an hour outside. If you were a political activist, you were locked up in here. You were seen as a terrorist trying to overthrow the government, but you were just opposing this oppressive regime and fighting for equality. You were locked up in isolation. I will have a look at our Supreme Court, a court that protects our human rights in South Africa, the very same rights that were violated by this exact prison. Okay, so we'll have a look at our Constitutional Court, a court that protects these human rights of ours.
I think it was really cool to see how it transitioned from a prison to a human rights place, because before it was a real big violation of human rights, and now it's a court where they discuss all of that.
My biggest memory from there was like seeing like how they transformed something that was like so brutal and harmful to the people into something that could like bring them together.
This is the media space, the press box, so the media would be over here at the top. The old bricks from the awaiting tribe buildings, the building that got demolished that I spoke about outside, those are the old bricks from that building. The bricks that would violate rights, not recognize rights at all, here are the very same bricks in this building, in a different light, standing to uphold this constitution of ours today.
So I'm inspired by their resilience and bravery, because people like Mandela, they didn't take no for an answer. They didn't stop until they got their freedom. And also the students who marched, they were really brave to go out in front of the police like that.
We're stronger together, and I think there's a lot of really amazing movements that are started by youth today, and I think keeping up with world issues is really important. We live in an era of technology, social media, and I think it's important that students still understand that there's a world out there and there's a lot of injustices that are still taking place, and they need to band together to fight against them.
We also went to the Constitutional Hill today. How did you feel that there were some prisoners that were there just because they followed their beliefs?
Man, like I said, you have to fight for what you want and what you believe in, and we have to appreciate people who fought that fight, because if not for them, like, South Africa wouldn't have gotten to where it is today. And in every country you can find stories of people like that. In the US there's Martin Luther King Jr., there's Malcolm X, there's a bunch of them. Even Nigeria as well, we have a few people. We have Fela Kuti, we have Nnamdi Azikiwe, we have Bafemi Awolowo, a lot of people who just fought for the freedom of their country. So it's important, even though like they suffered, but their suffering like led to the freedom of the future generation.
Like, the museum has made me a little sad, because I can't believe like things like that like happened, like, and it's not even like it happened like a very long time ago, because this is like more recent history compared to the history that I learned about before. They've transformed everything that was used for oppression into like historical monuments. Like, there's museums, there's even the housing projects that we saw in Soweto yesterday, how Mandela transformed everything. So that was really like interesting and beautiful, which means that you can turn something meant for bad into good.
Oh no!
This is the human child in his natural habitat.
Okay, so basically, guys, let me tell you what's going on right now. So basically, there's some children trying to get the pebbles inside the water and get more than one.
Okay. That was two.
Okay.
I can do it. I can't find any rock. What are they gonna do? So,
I hate this guy and his accent.
My favorite part of today was the buffet.
I would agree with Mila.
Because the food is just so good.
I believe the ALA community was beyond welcoming and hospitable. They were kind, they were courteous.
I think the community, everyone was really nice, really sweet. All the students, they were welcoming. They treated us as if we were a student there, like if we had known each other a long time.
I really liked the campus, and I feel like it was bigger than I expected, going to the dorms and being able to connect with other students on an international level.
Once again, I'm Christine from Nigeria, and I'll be your tour guide. So, let's go. This way.
When I first came to the school, I thought it was going to be mostly kids our age. And then they were a bit older, so I was kind of scared. But after I talked to some people, it was really nice. Everyone was really kind.
So we keep track of the scores from over here.
So at first, when I went in, I thought I was going to be hanging out with kids my age. But once I got there, I saw my first impression where all the kids were really focused on their studies and stuff. But once we got to outside, we'd done the classes, we got to play football, and they would act like we're our age. So it would be really nice to basically hang out with people our age. Like we would play football, ping pong.
Interacting with the students after their classes, I really liked playing games with them, getting to know them. I think my favorite memory was when it was downtime and we were in the dorms and we were talking with one another and connecting to each other and learning about each other's countries and their backgrounds.
I think my favorite part of ALA was the end of the day when we were all in the hall. And then, so in my hall, Athena, we just sat together for 20 minutes. We just introduced ourselves, did a chant. So I think that was my favorite part because it was just another warm welcome and I felt safe and in a good environment.
So I took the physics test and I learned AU is equal to brackets m plus a, comma b. So that was the formula, and then I solved it.
You did solve.
You did solve.
Copy Canarero.
Before Ms. McKay came, the teacher asked what is genetics, and I said genetics is the code in a DNA which is located in the nucleus in a cell.
No, I took a physics test.
Physics test?
Yes.
You wrote out a physics test. A practice test.
And how this is all important to contributing to the overall importance of how to manage your business at a time.
We learned how rage can relate with love, and we also had to do something creative like a play or a drawing or a poem or something like that on how rage is gold.
I really liked the activity at the end where we used materials, raw materials. So what did we use? Spaghetti, string,
and a chocolate bar,
scissors. And I thought that activity where they had to kind of construct a freestanding structure using the materials that were given to them was a great collaborative session. I really like the build model. I think AIS students would benefit tremendously from doing another workshop.
The build model was very impactful, and it allowed the students to put something in a practical sense, so something that's firstly given to them in a non-practical sense and put it into play, which is beneficial in life, taking those kind of lessons through into life as well.
I think that the build workshop helps a lot because normally when you have a problem you would just dive right into the solution and try and find the best possible one, but here in build you can really plan it out and see which solution would be the best fit and check all the viewpoints.
Build can give you many different solutions to a problem.
The B in build stands for believe, believe what you're gonna do, because when you believe something you have motivation to fulfill it, and definitely I think that's something in our school that could definitely be very useful. And we just got it recently, we got a new design building, so I think it's gonna be pretty fun to try out that cycle when we're inventing things.
Thank you very much, Henry.
Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
CCBSO! Hey! CCBSO! Hey! CCBSO! Hey! CCBSO!
my experience with the AISL group this year was absolutely amazing. I think something that stands out to me is their age, but their wisdom. They actually have a lot to share, but it takes time. We got to listen to them, we got to get in there, kind of unpack the shell on the outside, and once we actually got to the depth of their hearts, of their minds, of their thinking, they actually shared quite intense stuff, and I think that's important for us as educators, for us as leaders, those that are leading them, to listen, so that their experience going forward is something that will share. It's their impact. You know what I'm saying? They're going to take this back, this Ubuntu spirit. They get to take it back with them. But it also takes us just listening to them and being genuine and authentic. Because one thing I know for sure with young people, and especially them, is they'll sense the less of authenticity on our side. But the minute we real with them, they actually unpack quite a bit. But I think just them sharing their voices, saying, hey, these are some of the things we see are a problem and we'd like to see change, was great. And hopefully even with this bold model that they use, they go into the rest of their school here, the rest of their lives, taking it and being like, this is something that I want to use to problem solve bigger problems outside of just my space.
I definitely think hopefully they have taken something away, especially our last session with Build. I think Build is one of my favorite parts about ALA, and the Marshmallow Challenge is the best way for me to see students solve ideas and come up with fun solutions. You'd be surprised how many people actually create a tower that stands. It's a very difficult thing, but if you follow the build process, then there's usually 15 different times where they've broken the tower down, built it back up, and eventually they make something that stands. So I think they definitely benefited from it, and hopefully they can take it back to AISL and introduce it to their student body as well.
When I was up close with all those different animals, it just felt very unreal. It was just so cool to be so close to these wild animals, and just to see what they really look like up close, because I've seen them in zoos, and they're far, you can't really see them, you can't analyze them, but I was close enough to be able to really look at them and see how beautiful each creature really is.
It was really nice, and it's definitely different because I've never experienced anything like that. You're seeing the animals up close in their natural environment. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah, for me, I've already been on a safari in Kenya, but this, it wasn't just the animals, it was the whole scenery, mountains everywhere, different colored trees. The sky was amazing.
It was a really great opportunity to see how animals are in their natural habitat, not like in cages or in the zoo where they're ordered to do this and ordered to do that. You see them get their own food.
I liked how we didn't just look at the animals, we also looked at what they eat and where they live. The guide told us about trees that they would eat and everything.
The elephant was right in front of us.
A giraffe.
Giraffe as well.
Beautiful giraffe.
But the rhino, you saw the rhino.
We saw everything. And then I didn't have my camera, but I go. Calm down. Hey, get out of picture.
By the way, Mr. Shane just confirmed that he would come back
Yeah,
next year again.
of course.
He's had such a good time.
Oh, this is the best of it all. Seeing the king of the jungle. It's real fun.
Seeing the lion and having it come up close, that was really special for me because I had never seen one before.
We saw a lion today. Everybody was very excited.
If I remember right, I think we saw elephants, rhinos,
wildebeest.
And my favorite ones to see were probably the zebras. Zebras are my favorite safari animals out of all the animals I see. I like them the most.
1, 2, 3.
Safari!
And I'm Arya. And today we're going to be answering some of Mr. Tamir's questions about our South Africa trip. I did do a week without walls last year in Switzerland, but it was almost just as amazing as this. This was so nice. I definitely made new friends like Arya.
Yeah.
And I definitely got closer with my friends. and I think it was such an amazing experience. We learned so many things. Like something that I think was really important was we learned about Ubuntu, which I thought was very interesting. And I'm really sad to leave, but it was absolutely amazing here.
So fun.
My experience has been very well because it's taught me a lot about the history of the people and how they overcame it, and like connected me more culturally with them.
Yeah, for me it just showed me like how much South Africa has changed over the years, and it just showed me how much culture goes into this country.
It was really incredible as a South African to see everybody learning about our history and being excited about our country. So I think overall every single thing that was part of this program was really, really an incredible opportunity for the kids.
So I believe that this trip was an incredible opportunity for such a diverse range of students to experience South African culture, to learn about the history, the social activism that's kind of catapulted change in this country. And at the forefront there were a lot of young people, and I think that was really influential for AIS students to witness and learn about. So I loved this program. I loved all it encompassed, and it was a variety of different learning opportunities and ways to connect and get involved, and from bike rides to Nelson Mandela's house tour to trying local cuisine to learning a song and dance to seeing the wildlife. Like, it's been such a diverse range of opportunities and experiences and activities, and I think it's been an incredible experience, and I only wish that I had the opportunity when I was their age.
To remember that nothing is impossible, like our incredible president, ex-president said, Nelson Mandela.